Evening, everyone. I would like to welcome all the participants to this small informative session, where basically we're going to share some tips and tricks on how to prepare for your interviews. So, Harish, just to give you a fair idea, so these are all our students who have enrolled for our skill development and internship programs, and we are also doing something called as a special mentorship program for some of the students to just guide them through the entire placement process and help them how to crack product based companies, conduct some mock interviews. So these would be our audience, and all the students have completed their sixth semester and they have just moved on to their seventh semester. Probably some would be still in the vacation, and others would be shortly starting with their seventh sem. I think seventh sem would be a semester where most of the placements happen, and when most of the product based companies visit their campus either online or offline mode. So we have hosted this particular session basically to give them some ideas and tips on how to prepare for interviews. So, students, let me introduce Harish to you all. So, Harish has been my friend and my colleague. We studied together, and he is working at a very big company. And since I personally know him pretty well, I knew how he prepared for his interviews, and what are the things that he personally studied. So I thought he would be the right person to address you all, and he accepted our invitation, and today he is here with us to guide you all. Thanks, Harish. Thanks for coming to this session. Let's quickly start off. I think we are almost delayed by 8 minutes, so let's not waste any more time on this. Over to you, Harish. So you can probably quickly introduce yourself and take this session further.
Sure. First of all, thank you, Supreet. Thank you for inviting me here. Very glad to be here. So, like Supreet was saying, I and Supreet studied together. I graduated about 2 years ago and joined Atlassian straight out of college as a grad. So from about 2 years ago, I've been working on the Atlassian marketplace team. So basically, if you go to marketplace.atlassian.com, anything that you see there is owned by our team. We maintain and run that website. We do a lot of internal stuff, but to the external world, that's the only thing that's available. You can try it out. That's what my team does. I've been involved in a multitude of projects through my stint in Atlassian for the last couple of years. You can check out my LinkedIn. Basically all my achievements in the last 2 years have been updated there. So yeah, that's me, and that's what I do in my company. I was asked to talk about my responsibilities in the company. So my responsibilities include writing new features, basically any feature that we want to develop for our users. I am involved in writing the feature, like basically coding those features into production. We're also involved in maintaining the website there, which involves reliability basically. So anything that happens to the website, we're the first responders there, and we take care of it until the end of it. Anything that can happen to the website or our services anywhere else, we actually fix that. Okay, we make time to fix those things and ship it to production. So that's what I work on. If you have any questions, drop it in the chat. I'm sure Supreet will pick it up from there.
Okay, let me just take 1 minute of yours. Harish, sorry for the interruption. Students, there will be a live chat session at the end. Okay, so let us allow Harish to completely, talk and give you some guidelines. Later, we'll have a live chat. A live chat will be available only for the students who have subscribed to the YouTube channel. So please do subscribe, and the live chat would be open. Then you can start asking questions once the Q&A session begins. So I'll be picking up all the important questions, and I'll be passing on to Harish, and Harish would be glad to answer them all to you. Okay. So over to you, Harish. Yeah, you can continue.
Sure. From there, I was also asked to talk about the interview process and a few other things. So let me get started with the way you prepare for interviews, and I'll also talk briefly about the process for Atlassian in specific. So you can ask me any questions later. Cool. So the first thing that I want to point out is most students, like I have also been interviewing for Atlassian for the last about a year or so. And I see that most people who interview get a lot of tension around it. Like I personally, as an interviewer, try to ease that tension. They try to talk about your personal life, your name, your background, your technical skills, etc. at the beginning of the interview to make you feel more comfortable, to make the interviewee more comfortable. But it shouldn't be that way. Like I personally think that you should be more confident to talk about these things on your own. So what I would recommend is that stand in front of a mirror and talk to yourself. So this is something that I wasn't told when I was preparing, but this is a new trick that I learned in the last 1 year or so. When you talk to yourself in front of the mirror, you get that practice session going, and once you actually get into an interview, you won't feel that nervous to talk to an interviewer. I do want to point out that don't worry about any questions that the interviewer is going to ask. It's all going to be what you've already learned. All companies know what you already learned. They want to assess your thinking capacity and how you will apply what you have learned. They don't want to make you feel bad about what you've learned, etc. They don't want you to know anything other than what you've already learned. So trust your gut, like you know what you already learned. That's all is going to be asked. So preparation also goes into programming, right? Like for sure, all of us did do data structures or algorithms or whatever course. But at the end of it, we should also remember that, and we should learn how to apply that. So for that to happen, you should regularly practice, obviously. But other than that, I can recommend a few online competitive coding websites. Like I hope people would have been doing HackerRank by the year at least. That is the least. You can go on to CodeChef or LeetCode or TopCoder or whatever the other websites that are there. I personally did mostly CodeChef and sometimes HackerRank. That was probably good enough. But at least that is something that you have to do because most of these interviews have a filtering round. The first round that happens, there are like 500 applicants and they only want to interview like 10 or 15 people. So the filtering process is through this coding rounds. And that is why you need to prepare for these coding rounds more vigorously than any other subject. So that is number one. On that is mostly on the generic note. Also, another thing that I see students making a lot of mistakes is running your resumes or CVs to pages. Try to condense it to one page. Go on Google Docs. There are a bunch of resumes there. Just fill in your information and use that. That's what I would recommend. I would not recommend that you put in 2 pages of your resume. No, it should not increase more than one. Like I know senior developers, like architect level people in my company who have resumes of 1 page. I don't think you've done a lot of things compared to them, right? My recommendation is that have a 1-page resume in which you highlight all your technical skills. Like you're applying for let's say a software job, you're applying for a software engineer job. We don't really want your hobbies. Like what is the point of saying I play cricket as a hobby when you're applying for a job? It kind of doesn't make sense. What I would recommend is that any information that goes on your resume, it should be related to the job. Email address, yes. Home address, no, right? Well, why would the interviewer want your home address? Email address, they want to contact you. That's where they want it. So things like that. Google already has a bunch of stuff. You can just go on and fill in your details on that. And why I'm specifically mentioning 1-page resume is because the interviewer is going through like hundreds of resumes, and there has to be something in your resume that catches their eye, right? If your resume is 2 pages, they generally just scroll through it. They don't actually read it. I personally don't read a lot of resumes. When a resume comes to me, I just check out what the person has done in the projects that they've done. But yeah, that's pretty much it. When I interview, that's what I see. So I do not see point of creating 2 pages in the resume. So avoid doing that. Yeah, that's the generic idea of how to prepare before even a company comes in. But let's say once a company already comes in, like your college says, so and so company is coming on this date. Uh, so from today till that date, what should your preparation be? Uh, the number one thing that you should do is look up that company on the internet. You should know more about the company than the interviewer himself. Uh, I know it's a stretch. That's just a saying that I and a few of friends we had in our college when we interviewed. So basically, the idea is that any question that the interviewer might ask, you understand the company better. So you're able to give a satisfied solution towards that company specifically. So for example, obviously the most easiest question that you should prepare for is who is the CEO, who founded it, when it was founded, those kinds of things. Uh, they're never really asked in an interview. They're not expected out of you, but it's just a good thing to know, right? Like you're trying to impress, you're trying to sell yourself. It's a good thing even for an interviewer to know that you put in effort to learn about the company. You're not just applying because it's just another company, right? So it's not only about the company. Go for websites like Glassdoor or Geeks for Geeks, etc., where Glassdoor talks about the experience of the people who are already working in the company or their interview experiences. So these are really useful because it's not only the company selecting you, right? You are also selecting the company. So if you know about this company from Glassdoor, you know what you're going to be expecting once you join it. So go through Glassdoor. Glassdoor is one of the most important websites that you have to research on. And then Geeks for Geeks. Geeks for Geeks has a lot of interview experiences. People have already been through these interviews. They write down their experiences and how they got into that company. So internally, a company doesn't have like a million questions, right? Like they have a limited set of questions that they're going to be asking you. So most of these Geeks for Geeks websites, like they already have all these questions. So all you need to do is go through them, like be ready for the type of questions that you're expecting. I'm not saying all questions are going to be leaked on Geeks for Geeks. Definitely not. Even interviewers, like for example, inside Atlassian, we make an effort to ask different questions every time. But the thought is that you're prepared for what type of questions that are going to be coming in, right? So, so prepare for interview in that way that you make a research on the company and what the company is working on and what they will be asking you. Okay. And once you're already inside the interview, this is a question where you need to shine. This is where you need to sell yourself. Don't sell yourself short, no matter what. Like try to be the best version of yourself in the interview. Make sure that the interviewer is completely impressed by you. So how do you do that? Point number one, talk. Like talk a lot. So the thing is, don't talk nonsense. Obviously, don't try to derail the conversation, but contribute as much as possible to the conversation. So if you think of an idea and you think that it might be wrong, I would recommend that you still talk about it to the interviewer. So generally how it happens is that interviews are not looking for you to find a complete solution, right? They're actually looking for you to find like they're actually looking for your approaches in problem solving. So when you talk about some wrong approach, the interviewer is going to ask you why you thought about it that way. And when you answer it, they're going to try to lead you to the right approach from there. So, and trust me when I say this, even the interviewer is tense. They're also actually trying to hire you. They want to hire you. But you need to listen to the cues that they give you and then improvise on your solution. Okay. So when they ask you a question, talk everything that comes to your mind. That way, the interviewer knows that you're actually trying your best. So don't be in an interview where there's like 5 minutes of awkward silence. That's a terrible interview to be in. An interview should be more like a conversation. The problem statement comes in, and then you talk what you think, and then the interviewer is going to try to lead you to the right way. So that is how it will happen. And yeah, and the other thing that I've noted here is that you need to have confidence, lots of confidence. Thing is, a lot of Indian students, me included back then, we were thinking that the company has to select me. the point is not that the company has to select you. It has to be a mutual selection. You also have to select the company. So just remember that you are the best version of yourself there, and any company would be happy to hire you. Know that, and that will bring you a lot of confidence. And with that, I would want to end here. Is that okay, Supreet? Like, if you have any other question, I'm happy to answer.
Harish, there are a couple of questions to ask. And how important, the subjects like data structures, algorithms, and probably networking, how important are they during the interviews?
I already talked about it during my talk, but I'd like to refresh it again. Data structures algorithms, almost all software companies ask. That's because that is the only thing that any student is very strong about, right? So data structures and algorithms is the most strongest. Apart from that, I would say operating systems or deep database management systems is the next big thing that the interviewers ask. And things like networking, computer networks, etc. They're asked by specific companies. Like, for example, I think Citrix asks a lot of questions because the job that you do there, once you're hired as an engineer, a job that you do there, it depends a lot on networking, right? That's why computer networks is important there. But most other companies, like most of the product companies, like software product companies, they don't really care about networking a lot. They do care about database and stuff. So that is what it is. I would say algorithms and data structures is the number one thing. Then I would say operating system and database, and then computer networks.
Okay, so it totally depends on the kind of companies that you are attending the interviews, right? So students have to study the companies before, and based on whatever the company is working on, students should start or probably brush up the concepts in particular subjects before they need to appear for their interview. Okay, the next frequently asked question is, so most of the students here are from VTU affiliated colleges, so they usually ask, is it sufficient if we just study whatever is there in our syllabus, or should we study something which is outside our syllabus? So if we have to study something which is outside our syllabus, what are the best places, or should we refer to any books? Obviously you said you can refer to a lot of websites like Geeks for Geeks, LeetCode, and many more. But what would you suggest to these students? Is it really important just to focus on the fundamentals, or should students also go into the application level of probably data structures or algorithms as well?
Application level is what I would expect. Like, for example, like I said, I interview for Atlassian a lot, and when I'm interviewing, I look for the candidate to apply what they've learned. Not I have had candidates who walk in and who say, you know what, I know how to solve this, but I'm not going to solve it. I'm not going to write code. Those candidates are a definite no hire for us. Like, what I'm saying is, you need to be able to apply what you've learned. And how will you apply what you learned? It's via practice. You'll have to start practicing on the other website that I was talking about, HackerRank or HackerEarth or CodeChef, LeetCode, Topcode, or whatever. And also go through these simple questions like system design questions. Like, for example, I've seen a lot of questions asked being around like, if you had to design Facebook, how would you do it? Like, that's a very open-ended question. That's not going to be the question in an actual interview, but it will be mostly around that. Like, for example, they'll give you a specific scenario, a use case problem, and how will you tackle that problem? So I think application is more important in an interview than any other theory that you've learned.
Okay, thanks. And the next set of common questions are, so how important are projects? Your previous projects or your hobby projects or any projects. How important are they, and what role do they play on your resume and during the interviews?
This answer is, it depends. Like, it depends on the company and it depends on what project you've done, right? So two depends here. One, the company. Like, few companies don't really care about your projects at all. They care about what you think in that particular scenario and how you tackle those situations that they give you. Like, basically the problem statements that they give you. Few companies do actually talk about your projects. And for example, my interview, the very first interview that I attended, the interviewer just asked me about my project, and he started poking holes in my project. Basically, my project was not complete, and obviously he knew that. I made it clear to him, and yet he started asking questions on how I would fix these holes. There were a bunch of holes, and I said I would come up with solutions to them, and then he would talk about like he would ask me if I could find any other edge case that I'm missing. And then I would actually think about it and come up with a new edge case, and he would ask me how I would solve it. So in this point, he was actually looking at my application knowledge on how I would be fixing stuff, right? So your project also, most interviewers would take it in a way that they're actually looking at your approaches at the problem solving. So it's not really about your project; it's about how you approach the new problems that are coming in. So that is what they're looking at. They're looking at the intent that you bring to the table. They're not looking at your brains, your memorization skills or something like that. They're actually looking at how you would be approaching problem solving.
Okay, thanks for answering that, Harish. Okay, students, we are now open for questions. So you can actually click on the live chat option. I hope all the students are able to view that particular option. I think it's on subscribers mode only. So as I just mentioned in the beginning, please subscribe to the channel. You'll be able to access to the live chat option. You can type in your questions. I'll be picking up good quality questions and I'll pass them on to Harish, and Harish, probably you can answer them. So go ahead, students. Please make the best use of this opportunity. You could ask him, any questions. I think probably we can wait for 2 minutes, Harish. As and when the questions come, I'll just pass them on to you.
Sure.
So again, we have started to receive some generic questions. So how can students from non-circuit branches, probably like EC or EEE, okay, how can we prepare for software jobs? So what is your suggestion to those students?
I would say on a very similar note on what my talk has been about. Start prepare, like basically if you're looking for a software job, you have to understand data structures and algorithms. Borrow books from your friends or buy books, anything that works for you, and then understand all the concepts that are in it, and then start applying those concepts. The website that I've been listing again and again, HackerRank, CodeChef, LeetCode, or CodeForces, or TopCoder, or whatever the website is, they concentrate on these problem solving, right? How will you be solving those problems? You will actually be using data structures or algorithms to solve those problems. So first of all, you need to gain an understanding of these data structures and algorithms. And then after that, you just need to start applying these, like practice a lot on these platforms. That will be helpful.
Okay, so what Harish is trying to tell you all is that it's not impossible for you guys to get into software companies, but it is still possible provided that you start practicing coding, right? At least I think 1 year is required, right, Harish, to practice and to get into a decent software company for a student from EC or EEE or any other branch.
I don't actually want to put a timeline on it. It depends on you. Like
it
completely depends on you. I know a couple of my batchmates from EEE who got placed pretty well, who worked like 2 months. That's it.
Okay, yeah, thanks. So we have got some more questions. Again, similar questions. What kind of project should be included in the CV? Of course, students work on a lot of projects. What do you suggest these students, Harish? So, students would have done their project as a part of their academics, and few students would have done some creative projects, be it for some hackathons. So students are asking, what kind of project should I highlight, on my resume?
I would say anything that's worth talking about. Excuse me. So like what I'm saying is a lot of us would have done database projects or some other project, any project that's worth talking about. Like if you're applying for a software job, you should be talking about a software project, right? So any project that's worth talking about in an interview, like for the interviewer to understand your problem solving approaches, that's what they're looking for, right? So any project that is worth talking, like you feel like, so don't ask others about this. If you feel that the project is worth talking about, please add it in there. Also, what I would recommend is that don't add more than 3 or 4 projects. Try to minimize it to 3 or 4 of your best projects. Just because the interviewer again doesn't want to go through the whole thing, right? They want to go through the best of you. So try to polish your resume to be the best of it and use the top 3 or 4 projects. Like I would say 3 is also good enough. I don't want to go to 4.
Okay, so the next question is, if you have to crack the interviews of big product-based companies with huge packages, is it really required to practice coding right from the first year? That's
No.
the question.
No, I don't think so. No. Like Subrit can attest to this. Like in our class, there were like 50, 60 people who practiced coding only in 3rd year and still got awesome placements, right? So like, again, I won't say I did not practice. Like in my 2nd year, I loved coding. Like when I was introduced to data and algorithms, I went on to these websites and started practicing because I kind of liked it. But there were other people who did not really like it, but they started doing it only in the summer vacations after 3rd year, and they still got awesome placements. So there's no rule that you need to struggle from 1st year. It's okay. You can do it even now. You can do it in a week if you put your mind to it.
Yeah. So students who are in the final year now, so what Harish is telling you is it's not too late even now. Even if you start coding, so right from today, probably 3 to 4 months, you will get enough confidence and knowledge to crack in interviews. Again, it all depends on you, right? So that's the answer from him. Okay, now let me just pick up some more questions. Any reference websites to learn and prepare for aptitude part of company exams? So Harish, a lot of students who face difficulties with the first round itself. There might be very good, they're usually very good at coding, but in the first round where the companies usually check for their aptitude, that is where many students are failing. So do you have anything to suggest to these students?
I think I don't really have any website specific per se because I myself didn't prepare for aptitude because I was kind of confident with my aptitude skills. What I would say is just go for it. Like out of the top 10 results, one of them would be amazing. Like at least a few of them will be amazing websites for you to practice. Just Google for it and go with that.
Okay. So the next question is, does a student with backlog history, do they stand a chance for getting into companies? So, students with backlogs are actually worried about this.
The answer is it depends. Like you'll need to talk to your placement coordinator. I am absolutely not sure. I don't know. A few companies have that restrictions, a few companies don't. So it depends on the company as well, I guess. Talk to your placement coordinator and I've known instances where there was like, for example, for a student, one company was his dream company, and he still had a backlog. So he approached his placement coordinator and said, "This is the company that I really want to work for, no matter what, etc." and all that. He somehow convinced a placement coordinator, and the coordinator spoke to the company HR, and the HR did allow him to write the test. This did happen. These do happen, but I would say try to clear all your backlogs before placements. It's just to be on the safer side.
Yeah. Okay. So Harish, does your company recruit off campus, or is it just going to be through campus? How does that work?
I'm not aware of this. As of now, everybody I've interviewed is on campus. But if you do want to check that out, please do contact Atlassian in some way. I'm not sure how you would contact Atlassian. Probably. Okay. Probably find
explore careers. Yeah, I think that's the best option. Online, via LinkedIn, probably they could get connected to some HR.
Yeah.
Okay. Then, students are asking, is it sufficient if we know one programming language, or should we know 2 programming languages? What's your suggestion to them?
One is good enough. Like develop skill in one, like be the best in one, develop depth in one. That should be good enough. Programming languages, they're just tools, right? Like your mental ability, your approach, that is what matters. The programming language doesn't really matter. So develop depth in one language, and it should be good.
Okay. So will the student with less than 60% get a job in product-based companies? These are the kind of questions that are coming up now. Again,
I mean, it depends, right? It depends on the company. It depends on you. It depends on how you approach the company, etc. So there's no
yeah,
yes or no answers to this. There's no pinpointed answers to this. I'm sorry.
we cannot generalize anything, right? It all varies from companies to company. Okay. Can we get jobs through online platforms, like HackerRank, HackerEarth? I think that's obvious, yes, right? There'd be a lot of challenges there. What do you suggest? Like students spend at least 15 to 20 minutes daily on these platforms, right, Harish? That would definitely help them.
Is it possible to get a job from these platforms? Yes, definitely. HackerRank runs a lot of contests for Uber, for few other companies, etc. Definitely, it's possible. I wouldn't say 15 minutes. I would say 1 hour. Spend 1 hour at least per day on these platforms until you. It's just that until you get to that point of confidence that you like. It basically depends on your confidence. Once you're confident that you would be solving any problem that you can.
So can you share your first interview experience? Sorry. Harish, can you hear me? I think there was some
yes,
network.
I can hear you. Continue.
Okay, so the next question is, can you share your first interview experience? Any mistakes that you did there?
Okay, it's a good question. Like my first interview was probably for Microsoft, I think. So it was a full campus, and this was an internship interview in third year of my college. There were a couple of rounds of elimination, basically filtering rounds. After that, there was there were two actual straight face-to-face interview rounds, in which the interviewer gave me a question, and I was expected to solve the question and tell him how I came up with that approach. So both these rounds were basically that, and after that I kind of got rejected after the second round. So yeah, like it wasn't the best of experiences, but all those negative things that I learned from there is what helped me get past that. So any rejection that comes your way, get past that. Like learn the lessons from there, but don't keep that in your mind. Proceed from there.
Okay, for the students who are starting off with programming now, which programming language would you prefer? Being in the industry, working on applications on a daily basis, what programming language would you suggest our students?
Is this so? Is it a question based on your interview or for your normal work?
I think it will be for their interview.
If you're starting now, I would probably say C++ or Python. C++ because you would have already learned a lot of C++ in your bachelor's, hopefully. And then it gives you a lot of libraries that you can use. You can just import those libraries and play around with it. Or Python. Python is an extremely strong language. But unfortunately for competitive coding, Python isn't good because Python takes a lot of time to compile. Python takes a lot of time to execute stuff. So C++ or Python is what I would recommend.
Okay, students, please do note C++ or Python. You could choose any of the programming languages and start off with that, right? Okay. So, students usually ask how important is an internship, when they when they sit for their interviews. So what role does it actually play?
It does not. To be honest, it does not. Nobody cares about your internship. They care about you and your problem solving approaches. They don't really care about internship.
Okay. So, many students do a lot of projects during their internship, and students are asking, how do I explain about those projects to the interviewers if they ask, or should I just, focus on my own hobby projects, or should I, write more about the projects done during my internship? This is the other question.
Okay, so any question that comes your way from a project point of view, it comes your way to understand your project and then try to ask you questions on that project. They're just trying to see how strong you're in whatever you've already done, right? So they give you a solid, like basically when I go into an interview, I already have a list of things that I want to do. And each of them have a time limit. Like let's say, for example, introductions. I want to introduce myself. and I want to introduce you, I want the candidate to introduce themselves. So for that, I have 5 minutes in my interview, wherever I go to take interviews, right? So similarly, when they talk about projects, they also have an idea of approximately 10 to 15 minutes about getting to know your project. So use all those 10 to 15 minutes and explain the project completely as you can. So that way the interviewer has questions to ask you after you finish explaining that, right? So don't worry about how do I explain the project. Take as much time as you can and explain the project.
Okay, so the next question is related to our CGPA and SGPA. So how important is it, and what is a decent CGPA to get into a product-based company? So this is the next question.
I mean, again, this depends, right? So generally, if you talk about, let's say, anywhere outside of India where there are considerably less number of applications, in that cases, what they really care about is how you approach problem solving, right? They don't really care about your CGPA. But in India, unfortunately, let's say some company comes to your campus, there will be like 300 applications. They obviously can't interview all 300 people, right? So what they're going to do is they're going to shortlist based on CGPA or some other test, whatever that may be. So from my experience, the CGPA of 7 should be good enough. But again, I don't know. I've been graduated for some time now, and I'm not really sure of the exact answer. And I'm not even sure of the companies that come to your campus. Like, so I don't want to generalize, but I would say 7 or 8 is good enough.
So CGPA is used as one of the parameters to eliminate students whenever there are huge number of students, right? So yes, students. So it's equally important. CGPA and your skill set, everything goes hand in hand. You need to have both at a good pace. Okay. So let me see if there are any more questions.
I see an interesting question. Will the interviewer ask us to execute a code during the interview? If it was me, yes, I would. So again, like it depends on the company. For example, Atlassian actually wants you to write good quality code, and Atlassian wants you to write code in such a way that it's readable by others. And what is code if it's readable by others and it can't execute? What's the point of it, right? So I would say yes, most interviews would ask you to write code that would execute.
Okay, so any more questions, Harish? Are you able to look at those questions? I think many of them are generic questions, right? So obviously we won't be able to answer them until we know which company they are talking about. So students who have asked generic questions, you won't be getting any answers to this. Anything else?
There's a question on group discussion. I want to point out that I'm not the right person to answer that. And most product companies don't really ask for group discussion. Don't worry about it.
Harish, you have any idea about e-litmus test, which many, I think it is a common test where many companies use it as a entry-level test to screen students?
I'm not aware of any e-litmus test. I'm sorry again.
And I think it's a similar platform like CoCubes or something. Okay, that's fine. So any other questions, students? Probably will wait for another 2 minutes. Let's see if we can get some good questions. Else we'll sign off for the day.
Also, a lot of these questions that are generic that I'm not able to answer, you can find people in the company that you want to work for and ask these questions. For that specific company, they would be able to answer that. So I would say reach out to people on LinkedIn. Oh, there's another interesting question. If I'm currently working as an intern at some company, is it good to mention about this in the interview, or is it to create negative impact on us? Okay, so I would recommend that you mention that you're working as an intern in so-and-so company, because that gives two things. One, you're being completely honest there, and two, you're actually telling that I already have some industry experience. No company cares about if you worked on there, if you worked somewhere else and you're interviewing here. I don't think any company cares. I'm like 99% sure. So do mention it to the interviewer. Does English grammar matter in selecting students? There's an interesting question. Generally, no, but again, it would. So for interviewers, like when they get trained, they talk about unconscious bias as well, right? So I'm going to say grammar does not matter most of the time, but unconsciously there might be a bias. If you're actually interviewing with me personally, I don't think it would matter, right? So I care about how we approach the problem statement. But few people might, unconsciously there might be a bias that nobody can stop, right? So it might. Also, I think what's more important here is that you understand the question and you're able to make sure that your answer is understood by the interviewer. If you're good there, I'm like 99.99% sure that grammar doesn't matter.
So how to improve problem solving skills? Of course, by solving a lot of problems, right? So you need to go online, you need to find more problems. At the first, you won't be able to get the solutions, but if you're constantly practicing, definitely you would get good skills. Yeah.
Another interesting solution that we found out when we were preparing for interviews was that we created a group. Like we had a WhatsApp group of 3 people and we used to post problems every day. So all of us used to try to solve it. And if we couldn't, we'd help each other out and we'd talk about how we arrived at that solution, right? Like you need to find people with matching frequencies to go through this exercise, and I'm 100% sure it will help out.
Okay, guys, we'll wait for 2 more minutes. We'll be closing at sharp 5:50. Probably 1 more minute. If you have anything, please do ask. Okay, so one last question. I think you can take this up, Harish. Is online, are online courses for programming beneficial enough to learn for coding? So I think what they're asking is, so if we learn from online, would it be sufficient? This is the question.
I think a lot of my answers have been it depends. Right? So this one, it depends on you. Like it depends on how you take it. Personally, I don't think online coding, like online programming sessions would be useful for me because most of these sessions I would sleep through because I'm not interested in somebody else writing program. I'm interested in me writing program. But there might be other people who would be taking away a lot of things from these online programming sessions, right? So it completely depends on you. It depends on how you take it. I don't really have a complete opinion on that.
Okay, so I see there's 2 questions coming up again and again. So is it sufficient if you are good in basics of hoops and coding in data structures knowledge to get placed? I think again the reason why we didn't take up that question was it was way too generic. So if you have if you are entering to a very small company, I think that would be fine. But if you are planning to get into a product-based company, obviously just the basics is not going to help them out, right, Harish?
Yeah, maybe I would say. Like, so don't worry about it. Give your best. Right. So don't worry about somebody else learned this much. I also have to learn it. Don't get into a race there. Think about what your brain can digest. Understand that much. Be very strong in what you learned. Even the basics, even if you're very strong with basics, that is good enough, right? So if you're very strong with basics, the company that hires you, they can teach you the advanced concepts. So I would say, chalo, theek hai, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay. So one last interesting question, then we'll wind up. Okay, most students have the same background. So, okay, they're all from the same branch, from be it, from the same college. They have all completed similar projects. How do I stand out in an interview, be it in online or offline? So, I felt this is a good question. So, would you like to take it up?
Um, there are multiple ways of answering this question, and I'm not sure you guys will be happy with my answer, but I'm going to try to give the best answer I can. A company is not looking for, Albert Einstein. Like they're not looking for Isaac Newton to hire, right? They're actually looking for somebody who can get the job done. So even if you're the average of the lot, it's fine. Like as long as you can get the job done, they'll hire you. So you don't have to stand out in the interview. You just need to make sure that you pass a certain level that the interviewer is looking for. So most interviews have a point of seeing how good you approach the problem. So if the interviewer thinks that you're good enough, that you're approaching this problem good enough, and they can train you to approach it in a much better way, that's good enough. Like you don't have to stand out in the crowd to get it right. So just give your best and don't worry about, I'm in this race. You're not in this race. Don't worry. Remember Three Idiots. You're not in the race. You're alone in this. You're going to get placed.
Okay, Harish, that was really informative, and thanks for spending your valuable time, guiding our students and sharing some wonderful, tips and information. I hope all the students are going to make the most out of this particular session. Please do connect with Harish on LinkedIn. Probably you can find him there. I just heard that you're already getting a lot of requests. Right.
So just a fair warning, I don't accept all requests. I accept requests only from my college or from my company. But yeah, you can reach out to me via Supreet. I'm sure Supreet is always available. I'm happy to answer any question that you ask me.
Sure, definitely. Okay, Harish, thanks for coming. Yeah, thanks to all the students. Hope you all enjoyed this session. And again, if you have anything in particular that you would want to ask, definitely, we are in touch with you all. You can ask us. I'll try to get in touch with, Harish and get you the required information. Thank you all. Thanks for attending, students. Probably you can log out now. Yeah, thanks.